Hello guys, welcome to my channel. 2.2 stuff is finally out, so let's talk about it. We're finally getting another Aftershock teammate, specifically off-field Aftershock DPS/support, which should, by the looks of it, work with Zambi, Trigger, potentially even with Jufufu and Pulcra, which is very interesting. How good is actually gonna be in practice with Zambi? We're not sure. There's also, of course, Seed that's coming in the near future, and that could be the actual partner of Orphie and Magus, but as of right now, it seems to be Zambi. Nevertheless, let's start with the kit. We'll begin with her base stats. She's an S-rank attack fire agent, of course. You might also notice one peculiar thing within this picture. It says Faction Spook Shack, and this is not an error from the person who wrote this. This is actually in the files like this, so we are assuming it's an error from the devs, and it's not intended. It would be kind of funny though if she was part of Spook Shack, but she's definitely gonna be part of Obol Squad. As for the rest of her stats, as you can see, she's not getting any critical rate by leveling her up her core skill at all, which is interesting. Now let's go over her abilities. We'll start with her basic attack, but before that, I would like to let you know that a lot of you guys who watch me are not subscribed. If you'd like to support this small channel, feel free to subscribe. It's completely free of charge. Smile. And now let's continue with her kit. Basic attack, regular, perform up to 5 attacks forward. As for her weaponry, she does use like a military knife, and the tail, Magus, will actually do a lot of fighting. She also seems to be very clumsy and kind of like trips, falls over, and Magus is doing things like flamethrower and stuff. It looks pretty cool, goofy, and I think it's in spirit of Zenless Zone Zero. I think the character looks great. Also, guys, let me know in the comments what you think of her animation, smile. But now let's continue with the rest of her kit. So for dodge, dash attack, and dodge counter in itself doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary on its own. Now let's go over her special attacks, and here is where you can see her off-field DPS capabilities. Basically, her special attack can also activate from off-field whenever teammates attack, and this special attack can trigger at most once every 5 seconds, and during the skill activation will also recover 20 points of hit. For what is hit, we can quickly jump over to the core passive ability so you can understand better how she works. So basically, the core passive grants her 20% critical rate, damage dealt by aftershocks increased by 20%. Magus will initially start with 60 hit up to maximum of 125, and when Magus is off field, she'll be able to release her special attack, and if energy is above 60, she will instead consume 30 energy to automatically release her X special attack version. However, do remember that her special attack does have a 5-second cooldown. Also, when Magus initial energy regen exceeds 1.6, for every 0.2 initial energy regen possessed, damage dealt by aftershocks will be additionally increased by 7%, and damage dealt by her basic attack and X special attack, chain attack, ultimate, and X special attack are all considered aftershock damage, so you can get quite a lot of aftershock boost damage for Orphie. Since I'm already talking about her core passive, might as well mention her additional ability as well. The additional ability will be active whenever you have a stun or support character. Whenever her X special attack hits enemies, she will grant all characters within the team focus, which lasts for 10 seconds, and when triggered repeatedly, it will refresh its duration. And when agents have focus effect, damage dealt by attacks increase by 20% and ignore 20% of enemy defense as well. And when teammates activate aftershock specifically, this is like Zambi, Trigger, Pulcra, and so on, I guess even Jufufu, you will be able to extend their own focus duration effect. So basically, this additional ability will give you a 10-second buff plus up to 24 seconds if you have aftershocks. So that's in total 34-second buff, having the ability to get 20% damage dealt increase and 20% ignore of enemy defense. It's quite powerful, but I also do wonder how well will this benefit Zambi and Trigger, or is this more being done in mind for Seed or some other upcoming aftershock unit? But nevertheless, let's hop back to her special attacks. So her X special attack, whenever you have enough energy, you can use her X special attack, of course. It will recover 30 hit, and after its skill activation, you can directly chain into powerful Fireblade attack from her basic attack. I assume that's the last part of her basic attack hit. And also you can see here in more detail that when she's off field, her X special attack will also be activated if she's above 60 energy. And of course, also the X special attack that she activates from the off field will also recover 30 hit. And lastly, we have the final variation for X special attack, which requires 100 hit, and you'll be able to hold it to activate it, which will consume 30 hit, and then it consumes up to 100. Basically, it's a continuous laser that Magus will fire forward. Does like look very cute, the animation, how she's like covering, you know, behind, and Magus is just blasting with the flamethrower, laser, whatever you want to call it. It looks pretty cool. I like it. You also have great skill interruption level increase, so you're not going to get interrupted. And also, if she gets attacked during the firing, you'll be able to parry enemy attacks and directly increase the firepower of this attack. And also, whenever you finish this attack or end it earlier, you will automatically chain into the final attack of her basic attack or into her chain attack. Also, whether you will get to use the basic or chain attack, it will depend on the firepower level. If you are specifically doing low firepower, you will also have anti-interruption level increased and damage taken reduced by 40%. However, during high firepower, you'll have invincibility effect instead. And speaking of chain attack, let's go over that one as well. The chain attack will grant her 20 hit whenever you perform it. And of course, here you can also see that she will auto-activate her chain attack after her charge laser shot if it was fired to the maximum firepower. However, this version of the chain attack, at least from what I see, does not seem to recover hit. And lastly, her ultimate, which will do a pretty cool spinning attack. You'll have the ability to trigger quick assist, and if you do trigger this quick assist, Magus will extend the laser firing duration. You'll also have invisibility effect, of course, during this skill activation. It does look pretty cool. Then we also, of course, have good old quick assist, defensive assist, and assist follow-up. This stuff in itself does not seem to be anything in particular. And then, of course, you also have her signature V engine. It has 713 base attack, 60% energy regen. Do remember that energy regen is important on Orphie and Magus because she gains more aftershock damage if you have more energy regen on her. As for the passive, this V engine provides critical rate increase by 20%, and when the equiper activates aftershocks dealing fire damage specifically, the equiper attacks ignore 50% of the enemy defense for 8 seconds. It also does say that you can gain at most 1 stack within 3 seconds, stacks up to 2 times maximum, meaning you can get 30% defense ignore. However, do note that this defense ignore is specifically for Orphie herself, not for the entire team, just her additional ability. And it also, of course, says that when triggered repeatedly, it will refresh its duration, so you should have no problem having full uptime of this buff because all of her stuff is pretty much considered as an aftershock. Overall, with Orphie, I think she's a very interesting character, and I'm happy to see that we're getting more aftershock stuff because a lot of us were worried that perhaps Zambi, Trigger, and aftershock stuff might end up being forgotten, but it doesn't seem to be necessarily the case. Now the big question is going to be whether Sid will end up having to do anything with aftershock or not. If they do, the likelihood of Sid being best in slot for Orphie then would be extremely high, but I also expect the Zambi rerun happening within 2.2 patch because definitely, by the looks of it, Zambi should work fine with Orphie. Zambi is the only character in the game that is an on-fielder aftershock, and on paper at least, she should synergize pretty well with Orphie, which does also her stuff off-field. However, there could also be situations where you're gonna play Orphie with, let's say, Trigger and then something completely different else. But also, of course, as a big heads up, character kits can heavily get changed. If you remember Ali's situation in 2.1, she got basically completely reworked and changed. This could also happen to Orphie and Magus, so before you like celebrate, oh my god, this is the best thing for Zambi, you know, like you never know, I would just wait and see. The next update should be, of course, within a week times of this video, around that time usually. But nevertheless, I am excited for Orphie. Even if I don't have Zambi, I believe she's probably gonna end up working with something else, potentially Sid or something like that. As for other teammates, something outside of Aftershock, let's say something like Evelyn, I don't think it's gonna work that great. I believe Evelyn Evelyn will still prefer her Astra and lighter instead. But definitely this character has potential, and I'm very looking forward to see what happens in the near future with Orphie and Magus. Anyways, this is pretty much it for this video, guys. I wish you a wonderful day and see you in the next video. Ciao!